Don't underestimate
The power
of a single
it could change your whole life.
INCRadio Chatline.
conversations that matter.
This is what I ask. Let me always dwell in the temple of the Lord till I
Hello, everyone who's tuning into INC Radio Chatline, where we have conversations that matter. I'm Tony Rose Valenzuela, and I will be your host for today. And what we'll be talking about is something that we all face probably at some point that can be very challenging, but we'll work on that together today through our broadcast. And that is about self doubt, one of the many inner critics that we have inside our head. But thankfully, I will not be talking about this on my own today because this is a very could be an intense topic. Thankfully, I'm not by myself. I do have some of my friends here with me. They're both very far from me. I don't know who's. I want to say the ones overseas are farther from me. Possibly. No, no. They're saying no. Let's go to the ones across the pond and say hello to both of them. There's two of them with us today.
Hello. Is it us?
Yes.
Okay. Hi everyone. Good afternoon from London, United Kingdom. I'm Erica. And I'm Jonasel. I mean, technically, we're both hyper, but I don't know why you're trying to be serious right now. Okay. Thank you for having us on Chatline.
Yes. Thanks for being. I'm pretty sure you guys are so far there. Even though Melvi, she's across. I want to say she. Yeah. I want to say she's. You're so farther because to get to you, it's like 8 hours. To get to Melvi, it's like 4. I think for me because she's all the way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then we're far. We're far.
But that's okay.
I can't English. Let's go ahead.
Let's go say hi to Melvi across the other way. We're brought together through chatline, thankfully. But let's say hi to Melvi.
Hello, good morning, everyone. I'm so glad to be back here in Chatline, and this is indeed a great topic that we will be talking about. So stay tuned, and if you want, share with us what are your experiences when it comes to self-doubt. Hope you're having a great day so far, and hello to my friends here on Chatline.
Ooh,
Wait for
yeah.
our discussion.
For those who are tuning in with us live, and even if you're watching the replay, feel free to comment there, either in the live chat section or the comment section, your thoughts about the topic as we go through it. Now, we did kind of mention all of us kind of encounter it at one point or another in our life. Do you guys remember the first time maybe that you started to experience self doubt? Because it kind of, I guess, the way that we can describe it is the way it starts to show up or manifest is we kind of feel like we're not good enough. We lack a little bit of confidence. Sometimes it can happen after the first time we fail at something, maybe because of other people's opinions. So when you've experienced self doubt, currently or even in the past, what's the first thing that kind of comes to mind? It could be feelings that you have or thoughts that you have. I saw you unmute, Erica. What are your thoughts on this?
I mean, okay. First of all, what you've mentioned, right? We do experience self-doubt. I think everybody gets experienced self-doubt unless, like someone feels like they're good at everything, which I don't think so, right? Like I don't think anyone would feel like they're the best or like they're good in everything they do, right? And when we experience self-doubt, it's like in those moments where we were expecting another outcome, and so that's how we think that maybe we don't have enough skills to actually like accomplish that goal or task, right? And me personally, the first thing I think, well, the first thing I feel is why are you this is supposed to be a okay, rewind. So the first thing I feel is I'm disappointed in myself. I think it's pretty normal for someone to feel either sad or disappointed when something doesn't really uh, go their way. And then that's when the self doubt kicks in. It's like after that feeling, because if you ponder upon it, then that's when you start to sort of like think it over again. And then you're like, oh, maybe it's me. And that's when you start like doubting yourself. That's me personally. How about you, Jonah?
I think the first thing that comes to mind when I do feel that, to be honest, the first thing I think about is how can I like overcome it? Because I don't really like doubting myself, and it's not a good thing, you know.
Oh, she's
So,
strong.
so straight away I'm like, wait, what can I do so that I don't feel like this?
Fair. That's true. How about you,
So
Mel?
you jump back up. That's pretty resilient of you.
I mean, that's why she's my friend. She reminds me too. And also, like, okay, I know we're going like on a roll here, but what she's mentioned, like how her mindset is, that she got right back up. One of the things that I love is the fact that I have people like Jonah surrounding me. So when sometimes, like you see a friend that doesn't really feel confident enough, you're there to hype them up, to cheer them on, and then they're gonna be right back like there, a bit confident, more confident, and leaving that feeling of self-doubt.
That does help a lot, right? I know that the people that you have around you plays a big factor in how effective self-doubt can impact you mentally. For you, Melvi, what comes to mind for you when you've experienced self-doubt?
This feeling resonated with me the minute my family and I moved to Saipan. So when we first moved there, of course, English is my third language. I'm from
Wow.
Pangasinan, so I speak fluent Pangasinense, they call it, or Pangalatok. If there are some brethren or viewers and listeners out there from Pangasinan,
My mom
uh,
is from
oh,
Pangasinan. Yeah, yeah, that's super
so
cool.
yeah, I'm still fluent in Pangasinan and Tagalog, and then English is my third language. When we transferred, of course, I was in fifth grade back then when we first moved to Saipan before we went to Guam. The first thing I told myself was, when I'm surrounded by my friends who are very fluent in English, then the self doubt kicked in quickly because they wanted to talk to me, being the new student, being the new transfer student from another country. Of course, they want to get to know me more. And a lot of them were, there were only a few of us actually that were Filipinos. And the Filipinos that were there didn't really know how to speak Tagalog or another language, or even Tagalog, because Tagalog is basically our language that we speak when we go to the Philippines to understand each other, either Tagalog or English, wherever you are or whichever province you go to. And so I told myself, wow, they really know how to speak English well. How am I going to be able to how am I going to be able to communicate with them and keep up with them? And here I am, just constantly doubting myself. So I didn't want to talk to anybody the first couple of months, even inside the classroom. So my teachers thought I had a problem because, I got picked on because I was muted all the time. I didn't want to talk. I would write my answers on a sheet of paper. I was embarrassed to talk because I didn't want to get called out on if I didn't sound right or if I didn't say anything right. And it's hard enough that I was struggling to express myself back then, let alone learn another language that in order for me to be better, I had to work hard. And so I did. And here I am now, and looking back, and I had a good teacher who also was a good mentor, who was there to constantly teach me and guide me and helped me. And I worked hard to get to where I am now. So I have no regrets. I'm glad I did what I did. But every now and then, self doubt still lingers, especially when it comes to opportunities or relationships or something just that uncertainty, or feeling uncertain that you don't know what the answer will be or what the outcome is. I think a lot of us fear that. And the reason why we hesitate, we don't have confidence to make the right decision or maybe to even take that opportunity, is because the first thing that clicks into mind is, I can't do it. Instead of, I can do it, and I won't know that I can if I won't act on it. So, the inner critics within us is a constant battle for me every now and then, and I've learned to navigate through my emotions and be able to be better and beat it and have a good mindset like Jonah over there. Because mindset is really important. And there's no one else, if you think about it, there's no one else who can overcome it or beat it other than us, because it's within us.
For sure. And that's kind of what I wanted to pull in earlier when, Eric was talking about the importance of having, good people around you to kind of cheer you on. Because in my experience, in terms of how self-doubt has affected me, it got to a point where it didn't matter what my friends would tell me, the amount of encouragement that they would give me, the amount of reassurance that they would give me. If you don't work on it yourself, you will have a hard time believing those things. So that's something that me personally that I've experienced. But you brought up an interesting point, Melvi, and I don't know if this is true for Erica and for Jonah, because what I noticed is that in order for you to even feel self doubt, something had to have happened. It's not something that we just start feeling right away, right? Like for you, Melvi, it was that idea of you going to another country, and then you started making those comparisons, and then you started thinking to yourself, oh, am I not good enough? And then in Erica's example, it was like, oh, you go through this process of trying to pursue this thing, it doesn't work out, you get disappointed, and then so we don't start off having it, right? A lot of it is because of the experiences that we go through and the things that kind of affect us, um, that kind of builds that up if we don't take control of it, right? If we don't put a stop to it somehow. um are there times that you guys have caught yourself in terms of seeing that you're doubting yourself? Maybe like what Melby brought up is there's an opportunity that you saw for yourself, and you kind of did yourself a disservice by saying, oh no, I'm not going to take that on, or I'm going to pass that up. Or how has it, what are actual examples of how self-doubt has affected the way, I mean, for Jonah, she's jumped back up, with resilience. But has there been times where you maybe lost opportunities because of the way that you were thinking in your head?
For me, actually, it was during university for me, and I was trying out for volleyball, and I did. Yeah, girl.
Okay, I'm looking at for the ones that can't see us. I'm having like a surprise reaction right now.
Because Eric has never seen me play volleyball whatsoever. So I did the tryouts first day, and then they were just too good, the people around me, and I just thought, oh, there's no way that I can catch up to them. So I didn't go anymore. But you find other hobbies. So yeah.
I did not know that. Jonah is not the athletic.
Maybe not the
Person.
volleyball type, but
Okay, I'm
I'm
gonna.
not the volleyball type either. It's okay, Jonah.
No, it's okay. I mean, like when you meet someone, right? And this is like a new thing to me that I'm just like finding out about Jonah. So it's very, very surprising.
that was like 5 years ago.
Well, I want to see you play volleyball now.
We'll see.
Erica, what about you? Anything for you?
Me. Well, because you talked about uni, then I'm gonna relate to that one. Literally taking up law. Um, I mean, Tony knows, Jonah knows, but Melvi might not know. When I was a kid, I've always wanted to be a doctor. So I was paving my way to become a doctor by studying like, pre-med and all. But because of certain circumstances, it didn't go through. But at the same time, I knew that I didn't want to be a doctor because by studying the subjects, I realized that it wasn't for me. Like, you should enjoy what you're studying. And at the same time, even though it's really hard for you to study them, you're still going to end up loving it, no matter how hard it is, or if you cry about it, right? And so, I was thinking about it, I was praying about it, and I got guidance as well, and I was directed to taking up law. Ever since I was a kid, you could ask my mom. She was like, if you don't want to be a doctor, do you want to be a lawyer? And I was like, no. I studied law when I was in Italy because it was part of the curriculum in Italy when I was in high school. And I was like, nope, I am never going to be a lawyer. I'm never going to study law. And look at me now. I graduated from law school. And I think what made me feel doubtful about myself when it came to studying law is that I didn't know what to expect. I didn't think I had the skills to study again because by the time I studied here in the UK, I was already a mature student. So I felt like, okay, um, I don't know if I could go back to resetting my brain into you gotta study again. Because you know how we've experienced so many things, and when you're used to, for example, like work and not have the mindset to study and go back to learning proper how do you call it, like scholastic, like academic things, right? It's different, and so before I even started, I was like, am I even gonna make it? Am I even gonna finish it? But with the support and help of everybody, and like we're never alone, uh, made it. And I think that's one of the things that um, might trigger us into thinking that uh, into putting us in a situation where we doubt ourselves. It's the unknown of it. It's like um, it's daunting in a way where, oh, I don't know what to expect. And also, the more you think about it, the more you think of, oh, what are the skills that I picked up until now? Are they sufficient? Are they enough for me to get on and achieve that goal, or like finish whatever I'm trying to finish and stuff? So yes, my answer was too long. Sorry, Melvi.
Okay, you're fine. I like listening to all of your answers. See, when it comes to me, what triggers it most is when I make a positive or just basically assuming what's going to happen before it even happens, which is again the feeling of what if, what if I did it, what if this is the outcome, what if. So I've been living with what ifs instead of what is, what's in front of me, instead of taking opportunities or being in front of the line, or trying to progress in life. And this is in the past, of course, my younger version of myself. I always hesitate, even though, yes, people or some of our dearest friends will already know you have the skill sets, you have the abilities. Just give it a chance, and you won't know unless you try. Very simple, right? Or do you want that? Then go get it. Simple as that. But it doesn't work for everybody, though. And I was one of them. I never really had self confidence or self esteem when I was young. And so I got picked on a lot. And I guess you can say I was a late bloomer. And eventually I really had to learn the hard way. So learning to be self aware, learning from my mistakes, learning from others, observing others as well, have helped me overcome a lot of these negative thinking in my head, because I overthink, I worry too much, and it's just going to cause more wrinkles, right? And problems in our faces. So I always, think about that now. Or even our health. It's detrimental. I can't even say the word now. Detrimental to our health, especially our mental health. So yes, we have to have, or we need to find ways to be able to cope, whatever that may be, whatever helps. For me, what helps mostly is journalizing. I've learned that over the years now. And I think even in the previous discussions or broadcast we've had, I've mentioned this over and over again. I would express my emotions through either writing, even just phrases, even writing poems, and hopefully too, like you, Tony, write a book one day.
You remember?
I
Oh
have a
no,
draft
held
already.
accountable.
I just haven't. I've tapped into it. I have some drafts, but I haven't really. I don't know where the direction is going. I'm still all over the place. And again, that's also me doubting myself sometimes when it comes to, doing what needs to be done so that I can finally accomplish it and see where it goes. So what's important is, we have to address it. We have to acknowledge it. And when we acknowledge that and we find ways to overcome it, and then life gets better. It's never easy. I don't know if even our viewers out there can resonate to our past experiences or even at present. I still feel like sometimes I do lack self-confidence, because even at workplace right now that they've discovered that I'm no longer shy, I either become they approach me to become the MC, the first person to lead the group to do a PowerPoint presentations for our department, which I have now done. I did tell my boss, I said, I don't know if I'm willing to do this, but she said, you get along with everybody, Melvi. You know how to cater to all of their needs. You know how to speak to them from the heart, and you know their skill set. So you're it. So you know what? I took that as a challenge for myself and revert my negative thinking to say, you know what? What can I learn from this? I'm going to learn a lot from this, actually. So I'm going to go ahead and take it in, even though maybe some of my coworkers are not okay with it, because maybe some of them even want to do that part. But I was appointed and I did my best, and I no longer hesitated. I snapped out of my self-doubt thoughts and went ahead and did what I did. And I'm glad I did. Because I love to communicate. When I was younger, I couldn't. Now I'm the opposite. So I've learned. I've come through, I guess you can say, I've gone through a lot, and I'm glad, I'm grateful for those past experiences.
Here's my question though, because when you're so stuck in your head, because you brought up a good point about overthinking, right, Malvi? I feel like that's the combination there, right? You have that combination of the uncertainty, you're kind of anticipating and thinking about that, and what you try to do is you try to fill that space of uncertainty with the what ifs, right? And we kind of get into that, and thinking about, oh, do I have the skills to be able to even do this, as opposed to just making the decision like, okay, let's just try this, and then if it doesn't work out, how do we get from that point of having all of those thoughts and then actually getting to that point of action, right? What are things that you guys have done to kind of quiet the self-doubt enough and then be able to get put into action? What are some things that you have done? Because you with the what you just described. Go ahead, Jonah.
Okay, affirmations. Oh,
To
because
yourself.
Jonasa was saying I can do it. So it's like telling yourself that you can do it. But for me personally, like when Melvi said, I wanted to butt in, but she was saying so many points, like really good points that I let her speak, right? Because I wanted to say something about the what ifs and what is, right? With the what ifs, actually, you would end up feeling a little bit of regret, right? But if you do the what is, which is whether you're going to be able to achieve it or not, at least you got experience. Yes, you would feel disappointed, but if you think about it, like it depends on the perspective of the person. It could be like a negative outcome for you, but it could still be a positive outcome, because everything that happens in our lives happens for a reason, for us to be taught something, for us to learn something. And so when you can't achieve it the first time around, it's not that you failed, it's literally because you got to learn something more. And that's the beauty of it, because the next time around, you won't feel as doubtful, but you'll feel more confident because you've already experienced it, you've already faced it. But this time, you'll have more skills. So for me, how do I actually like try and not be in that self-doubt zone? It's literally thinking about this: everything happens for a reason. um, it's not about failures, it's about learning experiences. And so your perspective changes, like how you approach things change. And as much as you did feel disappointed in the beginning, you can't beat yourself up for that, because we're all humans, we're not perfect, we're not like capable of everything. And that's why we're not islands. We're surrounded by people, and those people that are close to our hearts, those are the ones that inspire us, motivate us, and cheer us when we don't feel like we can move onwards, right? And I think that's the beauty of it. Like, it's not only about us ourselves, we're also it's like what you call it, it's like I'm gonna say it, it sounds cheesy. It's like we're all in this together in a way. It's always like this. It's a big family. We're not gonna let one of us like face something on their own. Sometimes we have our personal like challenges. Of course, it's not like we know everything about each other's lives, but at the same time, you know, even just even just like listening to the person is already helpful. Even like, when they are in a state where they're doubting themselves, because it depends also on the person, right? There's people that when they self-doubt, they want assurance, so reassurance, sorry. So it's nice to have someone who can remind you that you're capable, you're able to do them. It's just that you forget about the different qualities that you have because of your experience. And then there's some others that they prefer not to have that, but it's more on, they just want someone to be there for, like, there to listen. And then after that, I think it's Jonah. I think it's Jonah, where okay, I'm gonna be sad about it, but let's think of a way to, like, get up and do it again. And they just need someone there to be with them in that span of time, and then they can just like pick it up from there. I don't know if I made sense. But anyways, EJ,
You
welcome.
made
Hello, hello everyone. Elsum Javala Cruz, live here from Rockford, Illinois. I'm still catching up to the conversation, but what do
No,
you
you're
guys
good.
think?
I was gonna wait because I wasn't sure if you were ready yet. But so right now what we're kind of talking about is we addressed some things earlier in terms of things that we have, the way that we experience self doubt, but we're now more in the phase of application and kind of fighting it back. How do we get out of it? What are coping mechanisms that we do in order to kind of get ourselves out of overthinking, out of our emotions? I think our emotions sometimes kind of influence the way that we react to that idea of self doubt. Just to give EJ some time, Melby, what are other coping strategies that you've kind of that have worked for you? And again, like what Erica said earlier, everybody's different, right? Like stuff that will work for Jonah and Erica may not work for Melby and me, and then vice versa. So what are things that you've done, Melby, that kind of gets you to move, as opposed to being stuck?
I've mentioned earlier, journalizing and self talk, self reflection, self awareness. And because of what I've gone through in my life, I've learned to divert my attention to changing my mindset. Let's say when I face a problem, instead of telling myself, wow, this is a really heavy problem, then there you go. How are you going to tackle this, Melvi? This is worse than last time, or whatever that was, or whatever happened yesterday, for example. Then I would rethink and reassess and dig in my heart and tell myself once again, this is not a problem. This is just one of those challenges in life that needs to be addressed. And you got this, Melvi. You've overcome so many already in your life. What's this? So do your best and just stay positive and do what needs to be done to solve the problem. And another thing that I've done is I no longer I'm no longer afraid of failures. I now embrace them. I used to dislike them a lot. I used to cry whenever I fail or I experience pain. But now my mindset has gotten stronger because I train it. Like the topic we've had in, I don't remember which month it was, about developing good habits. And that's part actually that if you develop good habits, you will overcome any kind of negative emotion. Well, keep in mind that it's still a matter of choice though. If you're willing to work hard for something, I know that there's no set of behaviors that we cannot learn, just like working out, for example, right? We've mentioned this as multiple examples in the past where if you were given 20 days to be consistent, will you be able to do it? So if we were asked to do that challenge, of course, again, it boils down to what is our choice? What is our mindset? What is our priority? When you find your purpose and the why in your life, then you know that you have it within you or within us to change whatever mindset that we have, because we're more on, if we want to succeed and be happier in life, it takes work. That's the reality of it. If we want something, you got to work for it. You even with when it comes to relationships, right? Even meeting someone in person. Let's say somebody approached you and they think you're nice and attractive, for example, or they want to get to know you better. And here you are sitting down, hesitating. You have this self doubt. Oh, I don't know, because I mean, and we're already assuming, he's like this or she's like that, and then we hesitate and we don't even give it a chance to even, have that person be even an acquaintance or a friend or somebody we can invite to church, for example, because we're already developing self-doubt nonetheless. So it's important to also consider factors that, I mean, it can be challenging because I've been in that situation before, but again, it boils down to a matter of choice. So whatever we choose in life, whatever that may be, what if it's career, what if it's a future partner, or buying a house, for example, all of this ties into our decisions in our lives. And unfortunately, self-doubt can affect a lot of those decision making because it makes us always feel uncertain, or we doubt ourselves because we don't have that confidence. So self-esteem and confidence also play a part in that decision making. So we just want to make certain that, we can be responsible and be accountable for our actions. And there's no harm in asking for help from others either. So, like what Erica said, no man is an island. So, it's good to have friends and family members who are also very supportive when it comes to this aspect in our lives. How about you, EJ? What are your thoughts now?
I hope I was enough time for you to kind of think.
Yeah, I've just been absorbing what you said, and it kind of reminded me of like what I want to share, that like since we're talking about like what's worked for us in terms of dealing with or overcoming self doubt. Like for me, it's like this is what I try to do. It's not, it's not perfect, and I would say there's still a period of time where uh like I need time to sit with a problem. But how I try to deal with it now is to reflect on what I can control about it, and you know like not worry about what I can't control about it. That's what I've noticed about myself, is that sometimes I'm too focused on something that I don't really have control over. Like in a circumstance, it's not um it's me it was me trying to control something that I couldn't control, that like made the process like even longer. It made it like harder for myself. And it was like it's when I learned to let go of that control and then try to figure out like what can I do with the things that I do have control over, like my own actions, my my mindset in like dealing with it. Like instead of just being worried about what I can't control, and let's move to action. Like what can you do? What can you do like now, right? And it's not that you're gonna be able to solve it like right away, but you can chip at it a little at a time, piece by piece, and take it one day at a time. And like for me, that's really what's worked for me. It might be a slow process. I'll admit it's a slow process, but um, it's what works for me. Like I said, it's what works for someone might not work for someone else, but for me, that's how I've dealt with it, and it's the strategy I've kind of been holding on to for a while.
So we've kind of mentioned different things that we can go about doing, right? When we recognize, so like the first step is recognizing when we're doubting ourselves or when we're having that bad inner talk, right? Like, oh, you can't do that. Like, oh, why are you even trying? It happens, right? Sometimes even just passively. So it's to identify, and then we have these different coping things that we do in order to kind of combat that. Now, how have you seen your life change when you've been able to kind of mitigate or to kind of calm that self doubt? What did you notice when you started, um, you know, uh, because it doesn't go away, right? I would say it doesn't completely go away, and Melby, you've expressed that before, that it's not something we can completely remove, right? But there are ways that we can kind of keep it at bay in order for us to keep moving. But how have you noticed, when you do these, like when you're journaling, when you're telling yourself, or when you're focusing, right, EJ, on stuff that you can control, how have you seen opportunities differently? How have you seen situations differently, circumstances differently? How has your approach changed, your outlook, your perspective? What are the ways that you've kind of benefited from being able to take action and to hit this self-doubt in a different way?
Mm. I would say like one of the things I've noticed like when I started focusing on like what I can control is that I started to see, because like okay, so to kind of go back on like the mindset of like being focused on things I can't control, it felt like this do or die situation, like where it's like it's me against the world type of not mindset but idea. But when I started to not to just accept that's the word I was looking for earlier, to just accept that I don't have control over some things and I do have control over like other things. When I started focusing on the things that I can control about the situation, like my actions, my mindset of dealing with it, is that I've seen more opportunities. I've seen more, not just opportunities, but I see the ways that our Almighty God helps me through it. That I didn't see back then. Like it's I won't say that I see the entire process, but I can see sort of like the steps. At least like the step in front of me. I can see it. I can see, okay, this is the next step that I gotta take now. Okay, like this is this is what I gotta do now. This is what I gotta do next. And you just that's what's helped me like get through that, like that one step at a time. That taking it day by taking it one you know one once a day. I don't know. I forgot the no, I forgot the saying for it. For
One
the,
step at a time.
yeah, one step at a time.
You're less pressured in terms of trying to figure it out,
Mhm.
right? Or trying to
You don't, because you don't have to figure it all out, and like I know the thought might be that you have to figure it out in one sitting, but you won't be able to figure it out, in one sitting. Sometimes it's just, just seeing what gets you to take that first step, and it helps with that. It helps with the self doubt, because like for me, just from my experience, self doubt has been sort of, it was a cycle of, you're not, I'm not doing anything, and then not doing anything makes me doubt myself because I'm not doing anything, and then it just keeps going and going. So it, like, the first step was to break out of, like, to break myself out of that cycle and focus on action.
What about for Erica and Jonah? Because I know you both mentioned in terms of like affirmations, right? Did you see, like, once you started doing that, did you see how your kind of your perspective and the way that things changed for you after you started, combating the self doubt that way?
Yeah, so when I tell myself that I can do it, I do start to believe it, and then I get on with it, and next thing you know, I'm already doing it. And yeah, I think just trust yourself, especially if it's let's say, especially like your duties in the church, right? You need to do it because well, it's for God, and you just have to, well, for me, I pray first and stuff. You pray first and then say, because you can't do it on your own. I mean, of course, as members, right, of the Church of Christ, we always rely on God. We don't rely on ourselves. So when we pray and we ask to help us because we can't do it on our own, and then we do it, you just see that he's already guiding you to do it because it's for him anyway. So you'll never be given something that you can't actually do. So everything that's given to you, it's because it's given to you for a reason, and there's a purpose for that. So you just have to, you have to do it out of love, of course. And then at the end of that, once you've achieved that and accomplished that, when it's assigned to you again, or it happens again, you know that you were able to do it last time, and then it'll be easier the next time, and you'll be more prepared already for it.
Erica, thoughts? Melvi?
Um, I mean, you all mentioned, but at the same time, when it comes to, I think, I think I'm passing it to Melvin first.
Because okay, just in review, right? The reason why we're talking about this is because someone might be listening, right? Someone might be listening to this podcast and say that it's really easy. It's really easy to say, to do all these things, to be like, yeah, just journal, yeah, just give yourself those affirmations, right? It's a lot easier for us to just say it here as opposed to them seeing what we've had to struggle through in order to even get to that point of action, right? So I guess my point is, or what I'm asking is, why is it even important for us to fight back against self-doubt? Because there are benefits that, we're speaking about, to EJ's point, right? Like, he was able to kind of digest his situation a little bit more as opposed to staying in this cycle of, oh, I'm not going to do anything. And then the more that I don't do anything, the more that I start to doubt myself, right? So why is it important for us to even deal with it? Like, to not let it control us, to not let it defeat us?
Well, because with anything that we feel, for example, do we let anger control us? Do we let fear control us? You know what I mean? So, feeling self doubt is one of those feelings that will be detrimental for yourself if if your perspective is not on the positive side, right? Like what EJ has mentioned, that he acknowledged it, he sort of digested it, but he didn't stay in that cycle. he took action. And that's the thing. One of the things that like as people, I guess, first thing is to feel, right? But at the same time, we strive not to let them control us because it's us. Like, emotions are there to be felt, but at the same time, that doesn't mean that they control us. We control our feelings, right? And that's why we don't see people that when they're mad at each other, like randomly, they just burst out of anger outside, right? Or like if someone is like super, well, actually, I'm not gonna say that. Maybe if someone is super sad and something happened, they might start crying, but you know what I mean? It's like something happens, okay, you react to it, but then it depends on like how strong the emotion is, you know what I mean? But that doesn't mean that you're gonna let it happen all throughout, because that means that that feeling is controlling you. And with your with what you've mentioned, Tony, letting self-doubt control us, um, and how we have to deal with it, we are all different people, and we face things differently. We think of ways, or we cope, we have different cope mechanisms, or like, you know, we react differently. But at the same time, the most important thing is how your mindset is, in a way where, yes, we do face difficulties. This world is not getting any better. Like, you know, it's like we're worried, we have certain concerns in life, but does that mean that we're gonna just sit down and like think about them and feel like more overwhelmed and sad? No, we have our own lives, and that's why we get out. We get up, we prepare for our day, we go either to work or to school, and we just, you know, do the things that we've been doing. And I think that's what I agree with Jonasel, because she said you just gotta do it, and that's how I think is one of the first steps, which is, yes, we acknowledge that we have self doubt. What EJ has mentioned, which was, yes, you start like, you know, thinking about it and digesting it, right? But then you address it in a way where is best for you, which is, it can be hard. We're not saying it's easy, because it's easy to say things like this, but if you think about it, all of us have been through different things, and we may have dealt with our experiences in a manner that is different to yours. But me personally, it's always the first step. The first step is the hardest one, because that's where you will feel like, oh, am I really gonna do it? It's like going outside that comfort zone. It's not even a comfort zone if we're talking about self-doubt, but you know, that zone where you're like, I don't know what's gonna happen if I do this or if I don't do this, you know? And so it's always that first step. But after that first step, it doesn't matter how big or small your progress is, that progress is still progress. So you might not see it tomorrow, you might not see it next week, but if you look back after probably like a year or two, you're going to be like, huh, you know, totally changed. And I think that's why it's important to deal with it, because the more you wait, the more it's like time flies, time doesn't wait for you, time doesn't stop. So why wait up until when you feel like you're ready instead of doing it now? This is what I should listen to myself right now.
You're talking to yourself, Erica.
Like
But
that.
yes.
Oh, good one, good one.
If I can just one out, if I can just like add a little bit more to it, which I because I do agree with like what Erica said, that you have to get through it, and that's the thing. You know, but you Tony asked like why we should even try, right, in the first place. So why? Because you have to get through it, and you will get through it. You know, you will get through this situation. It just depends to you, like how hard you want to make it for yourself. That saying we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Well, now you're there. You have to cross that bridge. Just think of it. Okay, like, think of it like this is the bridge, right? And this is you. You're like crossing the bridge. We're like, oh, but what if oh, but I'm not. I don't think I'm prepared for this. Like, oh, like there's these different reasons, and the thing is that you will, like you can cross that bridge with still with having self-doubt, but to Erica's point is that you don't let that self-doubt stop you, right? You can't really, like I don't know who said it earlier, like you can't really get rid of it. You can't really get rid of that self-doubt. You will have it. You will have that self-doubt, if you're going through it, if you're crossing that bridge with self-doubt, that's fine. It's fine. It's fine to have self-doubt, but don't, like what Erica pointed out, don't let it stop you. Don't let it stop you. Don't let it push you back to the starting point because you're worried about the what ifs, or what the outcome could be, you know, about your expectations. Don't worry about that because at the end of the day, it's like when you look back, it's like the moments the times when you cross that bridge or the bridges that you've crossed, back then are what led you to be like who you are now. Who you are now, and the bridges that you'll cross now and in the future will lead you to who you're meant to be in the future. You know, just just trust that you're being guided. You're being guided in every step. So don't be worried to cross that bridge. You'll have doubts, you'll have self doubts. That's true. It's like it's like being a host on on INCRadio. I would say we've been hosts for a couple of years now, but we're still nervous. We still get nervous every broadcast. We still have that sigh of relief after every broadcast. We're like, oh, we got through it, right? Like you will have that fear, but don't let that fear stop you because you know that what wherever that bridge leads you to is where you're supposed to be. you know and just be excited for it because you don't know where you don't know where that bridge will take you. You don't know who you're being led to being, in terms of who you're meant to be, right? Just be excited about it. You
I
have
def-
self doubts. That's okay. That's okay. It's okay to have self doubts.
yeah, with what you guys mentioned, here's the thing of it. Again, the reality of things. I'm just going to state it. So we're racing against time. Definitely, Erica mentioned a great point when it comes to time. Time will never stop. And so you either choose to sit there and do nothing, or you do something about your life, or we do something about our lives. And another point that EJ made is we will never know or be able to unleash our full potential if we will not give our opportunity to do so. And self doubt is one of those hindrances that will prevent us from being who we want to become in our lives. So that I'm sharing with you my own personal experiences that if I doubted, I wouldn't be here right now with my friends here on Chatline talking. I would still be behind the scenes or the quiet person in the back row with no friends, probably not even, I don't know what kind of job I'm going to have, but even with the communication skills I have now been given a lot of opportunities because I chose to improve it. I chose to progress in my life, and that led me to where I am now today. So I know sometimes we say it's easier said than done, but know this: if you will not give yourself a chance to do it, or even change, or even become stronger in your mindset, then you will be stuck. Don't do that. Don't be stuck. Because I know that, God has blessed us with all of the possibilities, all of the skills and talents we have. We just have to be aware of them, hone them, acknowledge them, and thank Him. Because, in the Church of Christ, we are taught to never doubt, right? Especially when it comes to God. And that's why we pray and we ask for help. And we also have, all the members supporting us and everyone else in our friends and family. So with that, we hope that, you'll be able to also feel what we're saying. We're not experts here, but I'm sure that if, you're watching this, maybe some of you can resonate to all of our different experiences when it comes to self-doubt, and hopefully that you'll give yourselves a chance to become a better person, or become better in self-regulating your emotions, so that way, we can all have a more fulfilling and productive lives. All right, back to you, Tony.
That's a nice way to kind of close off everything, right, Melvi? Because if you really look at it, um, the that idea of potential, it begs the question of, if you don't do this, what's the alternative? That's the question that I like to ask myself whenever opportunities present themselves now, because I've been in situations in the past where something will come up, and then I'll make it maybe like 90%, and then I'll back off, and I was like, never mind, I don't think I can. And then it come what's funny about God sometimes is that he finds a way to bring it back to you, and you're like, oh, okay, I'm here again. So what am I going to do now? What's going to be the decision now? And what's going to be the alternative if I don't go through with this? And that idea of reaching your full potential and not putting limits on what you can do, believing as Christians that God always has our back, right? So, what we've learned a lot in our broadcast today about, in terms of, we have our emotions, we identify them, and we figure out that commentary that we have, but we don't let that control us, right? And we have a little bit more self-compassion and a little bit more self-awareness in terms of the way that we approach things, right? More patience with ourselves, right? Taking a little bit at a time, and then focusing on what's important, right? Focusing on potentially not just how far you've come, but why are you doing the thing that you're doing? What is it for? Because if you know what it's for, then it doesn't matter how many times you're falling. You'll get back up again, and you'll try again, and you'll try again, and you'll try again. That self-doubt won't defeat you in that way. And then, like what we talked about earlier, the importance of having a good circle, the importance of having people around us that will remind us when we forget who we are, that will reassure us when we forget what we're capable of doing, and even more. And then, of course, the right mindset is what was driven, throughout the broadcast. Having the right mindset, it's hard, it can be challenging. um Even your word choice can affect the way that you kind of perceive things. So you can look at things as hard, or you can look at it as challenging but overcomable. But you can do something about it, like what we've all said, right? So for those who are listening to us, whether you're watching live or the replay, we hope that you can come out of this conversation with more tools to be able to overcome that self doubt. Just because with how life is now, it's really easy for us to compare ourselves to other people. Like, with Melvy's experience, kudos to you for speaking 3 languages. Wow. And that, look at you now. There's so much room for potential that we can find in ourselves, but it's always that first step, like what EJ has mentioned earlier. It's that first step to really being willing to be brave, right? I think that's what it is being willing to be brave, and taking that chance, and believing that when you take that step, that you have somebody that's backing you up. So thank you to everyone. Thank you to all of our panelists who took the time to be with us for today, and joining in our conversation and sharing your thoughts. And for those who are there in the live chat, I'm sorry we didn't get to mention everybody's name, but we hope that you continue to keep tuning into Chatline, and take a moment to comment and let us know what you thought about the conversation and other conversations that also matter to you. Until next time, here on INCRadio Chatline, we'll see you guys. Take care, everyone.
What I ask, let me always dwell in the temple of the Lord till I bring my
This is INC Radio,